I think it's fair to say within the NRL, there's a lot of things that rugby league does very different to other sports, including the contracts. Because as of right, well, as of November 1, I should say, there's players who can negotiate for 2027. So essentially, there's managers right now on the blower to clubs about signing a player in 2 years' time. Now, obviously, I know you want to plan for down like what's going to happen down the track, but seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? You'd think that people would get to the end of the year, run out of contract, and then they start to negotiate with another club. Now, obviously, that is the case with some people. For example, Taylor Evans doesn't have a contract for next year. But today, we're going to be talking about some of the players that potentially could be negotiating with other clubs in November 1 if they don't re-sign with their club before then. Now, just before we get into today's video, if you are enjoying the content here on Trademark Sports YouTube channel, make sure you click subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. And a lot of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, and I know you've been coming back and watching my content, so make sure you click that subscribe button as well as give it a like. Okay, let's get into it. So at the moment, there is like a stack of players for 2027 that are off contract at the end of 2026 and can negotiate. Now, we're not going to talk about every single one of them, otherwise we will be literally here for hours, unless of course you did want to see that. But I'm going to be talking about maybe 2 or 3 or 4 guys from each position, and then going through and talking about maybe some potential landing spots for them. But like a lot of these guys will probably re-sign in the next 2 or 3 months, so it becomes a little bit of null and void. But there are some clubs with a bit of salary cap squeeze that there could be some potential massive movements in the NRL coming up in not too long. We're going to go from fullback, make our way down to the locks, starting with the fullbacks. The first guy, Kiwis fullback, Keano Keeney, is off contract unless re-signed at the end of the year, before the end of the year. But the interesting thing with Keano Keeney is because he's picked up this spinal injury, I wonder whether the Titans management are just a little bit like, oh, let's hang off just a little bit and see how he comes back from that, which I think would be so stupid because Keano Keeney will bounce back from that back surgery and everything. Fingers crossed, fine. But there are definitely some clubs out there within the comp that we're looking for a fullback, and especially for 2027. And he is the Kiwis fullback. Let's not forget that. I know the Titans have about 3 fullbacks playing at the moment, a bit like the Melbourne Storm, but obviously not as good. But yeah, Keano Keeney. So potential landing spots for him. A big one. The Bulldogs, they have sort of been in the market a little bit for a fullback. Now, I personally think Connor Tracy is fantastic, but I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's pretty ruthless, the NRL. If you can upgrade in a spot like that's so important, like fullback, why wouldn't you? So I think if somehow Bulldogs had the money for Keano Keeney from 2027 and beyond, why wouldn't I make a play for him? We've also got the Warriors. I think Charles Klukstad is definitely coming towards the end of his career. I know they've got Tuapiki there, who's been playing really good footy on the wing and sort of seems as like that next guy up for that fullback spot. But if things go a bit south with him, then you've also got, you can bring Keano Keeney back over. Obviously, he's a Kiwi, plays for the Kiwis. That just kind of fits as well. Another one is the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, there's probably a lot of players here that I'm going to mention the Dragons for. A little bit biased, but just bear with me. I think Keano Keeney, like the Dragons in 2027, Gutho's probably playing center. That's his last year of his contract. Probably going to retire after that. They need a fullback. Tyrell Sloan, is he that guy? Not so sure. Shane Flanagan doesn't seem to rate him that highly as a fullback, which fair enough. So yeah, Keano Keeney potentially could end up at the Dragons, maybe. Another one is interesting, and I think he'll definitely re-sign for the club. But Jaden Campbell's also a contract this year for the Titans, which that's a lot of money going into Keano Keeney and Jaden Campbell. And there's also a couple of people later I'm going to talk about as well for the Titans. They could be in a little bit of like a personnel shift coming into like this season, because there's a lot of money they need to like fork out for these guys coming here, and things aren't working at the moment, so they might be looking elsewhere. But yeah, Keano Keeney, Dragons, Dogs, or Warriors. Let me know what you guys think. Also, Jaden Campbell off contract, another fullback. Now, again, you think he would re-sign, but you just never know in the funny game rugby league. And that is Tom Trbojevic. Now, obviously, there's talk about him going and playing 5'8", which I think is absolutely rubbish. He's one of the best fullbacks in the comp, and I know he definitely gets injured a lot. His body doesn't really stand up to the trials and tribulations of rugby league. However, I think he could sign for wherever he wants, for whatever he wants. Maybe a new S&C coach might be able to get the best out of Tom Trbojevic. He probably mismanaged earlier in his career, but there is a side. The Sydney Roosters seemingly going to have a lot of money. Could they offer him just an amount where Tom Trbojevic just goes, geez, I can't say no to that. I know that he's certainly not on no money. He's actually getting paid quite handsomely. And like money probably isn't an issue for Tom Trbojevic. Also extremely smart and has like degrees in finance and business and all that sort of thing. So he's probably putting his money away in a good spot. But you only get to play rugby league for so long. Like how many years in his life is he going to be able to earn 1.2 million plus? And yeah, that's the thing as well. Like if it's Manly say you're either playing 5'8" or nothing, he might look elsewhere. So I don't want to speculate, but Tom Drabojevic, if he was to move for like a club like the Roosters or literally just wherever he wanted to go, yeah, I'll be paying exorbitant money for Tom Drabojevic. Now you probably think, well, Roosters have James Tedesco. Well, James Tedesco is also off contract at from November 1 this year. Now I think again, like Jaden Campbell, Tedesco probably re-signs. The other option is for James Tedesco. He's getting on a bit. By end of 2026, he might be ready to pack it in and say, I've had enough and retire. They're probably going to let Politis and Robinson know early enough so that they can go and look elsewhere and see like what else is available. Whether that's Kalen Ponga, those rumors don't really seem to go away. But yeah, that's just interesting with Tedesco leaving. One of those guys can end up at the Roosters. Keanu Kinney can end up at the Roosters as well. You just never know. Let's go over to the wingers now. One of them who's really been going good this year, a bit of resurgence under his new coach, and that is Jesse Arthurs. Again, you'd think he'd re-sign, but I wouldn't be surprised he has a little sea change to the other Brisbane club, goes to the Dolphins with his good buddy Herbie Farnworth. Another club that could probably use a winger of Jesse Arthur's calibre is the Knights. Now, I know they've got Greg Marzu on one side, but James Schiller, he's been playing good football, but he hasn't certainly cemented that role as his own there at the Knights just yet. And again, like I said with Keanu Kinney, better play it out there. You might as well make a play at him. So I think Jesse Arthur could be on the move there just because Broncos do have a fair bit of salary cap squeeze. Like they've still got to sign Selwyn Cobbo and Katoni Staggs. Like if they want to re-sign both of them this year, there's also a guy we're going to talk about later who they definitely need to re-sign. Very interesting. These next couple of guys, Xavier Coates and Will Warbrick are both off contract from the Melbourne Storm. Now again, naturally, like I can't really see Xavier Coates or Will Warbrick playing for anyone else but the Storm from here on out. But it is important to note they've got Moses Leo at the Storm now, another rugby sevens outside back from New Zealand. He's not going to be wanting to wait there forever in the wings, surely. Like he's going to want to get a spot somewhere, whether that is the long-term plan to be centre over Nick Meaney or something like that. I'm not too sure, but it just seems like obviously you want to have some depth. Like look at Manly, they've got ridiculous depth in the outside backs, but these guys are all going to be playing like something I can like low key kind of see is Xavier Coates going to Penrith. Penrith do have a little bit of money in their cap with all the like players that are going, and they're trying to like do it the Penrith way of developing their players up. So when they first come into grade, they're not on that much like money. So maybe that's something that you can see there. Maybe will Warbrick go somewhere else? Again, you guys let me know in the comments if you think they would be like going anywhere else. But yeah, it's just interesting that you've got rugby sevens all well, not all black, but rugby sevens really, really good player waiting in the wings there, and Xavier Coates and Will Warbrick are both off contract. So interesting what happens there. And moving into our center three quarters, we have got some absolutely stacked names here. 5 guys that are just absolutely ridiculous. Now, Ruben Garrick, he's the first come off the rank. Now, obviously, he's from the Illawarra. Did come through the system at the Dragons. They've just had a baby, maybe just in terms of just some like family things. They want to have some more time with the grandparents and that sort of stuff. But I reckon the Dragons could be a sneaky play to bring Ruben Garrick home. Probably to play on the wing there. Obviously, you have Christian Tuilotu on one side. Then on the other side is Tyrell Sloan. That position isn't exactly locked down. There's also a couple of other guys coming through the wings there. Like in the system that might be really first grade ready by that stage. We also got Valentine Holmes in 2027. It's probably going to be a little bit further on in his career. He might want to give it up. So potentially there's room there for Ruben Garrick. Now another club, the Newcastle Knights. I think they could have a play at Ruben Garrick's signature because again, if like to play at centre. But like I said with Jesse Arthurs before, the centre spot, sorry, the right wing spot for the Knights isn't locked down. Also, Jane Gagai getting on an age. By 2027, is he still playing rugby league football? I'm not so sure. So Ruben Garrick could be slotted into that right centre spot as well, which he is locking down at Manly at the moment. Again, with Dale Cherry Evans leaving, there's probably a bit of money for Manly as well, whether they want to upgrade his contract or that sort of thing. But we'll see. The next guy, Herbie Farnworth. Potentially the best center in the comp. In my opinion, probably the second or third best center in the comp. I reckon he could go anywhere he wants. Depending on how the Broncos use the salary cap, maybe Herbie Farnworth goes back to the Broncos. Again, another club, which we've just been talking about, that's just got so much money, is the Sydney Roosters. Obviously, Bobby Toya and Mark Nwanga-Nitawase are doing a great job there, but Daniel Tupou looks like he could be retiring soon. And then maybe Marky Mark goes to the wing. We're not too sure, which opens up a center spot for Herbie Farnworth. Who knows? Then a guy who I think by 2027 will probably be the second or third best center in the competition, Kyle Ito. I reckon again he could probably sign wherever he wants. I think he's likely to re-sign with the Sharkies. Like went through a couple of different systems before he landed in Cronulla. I feel like he sort of just wants to repay that faith. Like another club around Sydney that needs another outside back, the West Tigers. Something about like I could just sort of see Kyle Iro playing for the West Tigers. But again, another place maybe could land. Maybe he goes back home, goes to the Warriors. Maybe like that is something that Kyle Iro sees in the future for him, potentially. And then we've got a guy we just sort of spoke about as well. Will Penasini is off contract if he isn't re-signed by November 1. Can see him going to rugby union though. That's another thing we have to consider with a lot of this as well. When these contracts are sort of being negotiated up, Rugby Australia is going to be trying to get all these guys over because the World Cup will be in Australia the next year. So I can see him going to play union with his good mate Joseph Swali'i, but I can't really see him playing NRL for any other club. It's just something about it. Like his brother's there as well, so I feel like he's going to be staying with Para. But another potential centre who I reckon could sign with the Eels, I can just sort of see this happening, is Jesse Ramian. Now, obviously we saw Jesse Ramian earlier in his career move to the Newcastle Knights, and it did not work out at all. He was shocking, and then he went back to what he knew at Cronulla Sharks, and I think he probably does stay there. Let's be honest, I feel like the Sharks probably trying to find some room in the cap for him because all these guys that are sort of re-signing are trying to take unders to stay at the club because they want to win a comp together. And Jesse Ramian is becoming a really, really consistent centre under Craig Fitzgibbon, so I feel like he will re-sign with the Sharks. But Eels fans, let me know what you think. Would you like Jesse Ramian at your club? Now, that said is done. We're moving to the halves. Not too many halves, honestly, getting around. First one, though, that went on everyone's lips, especially for the Parramatta Eels who we've just been talking about, Lachlan Galvin. I can see him going to a host of different clubs because he doesn't necessarily seem happy at the Tigers. He sounds like he's on a release before he even made his debut there. So I don't know whether he's going to be there for like the rest of his career. So in saying that, what clubs do I see him being at? The Eels. I was an Eels fan growing up, was in their system, so maybe he has a bit of animosity there with the way they treated him if it was like an ugly breakup. But yeah, I could see Lachlan Galvin going to the Eels now that Dylan Brown is not going to be there and they probably have a bit of money. Again, could see him signing with the Panthers if Blaze Talangi doesn't work out there with Nathan Cleary. Sydney Roosters as well, lots of money. Can see sort of him going there. And another club that's got a bit of money, the Dragons. Now, obviously, that's probably the least realistic one there. I'm just sort of like a bit of wishful thinking from my part there. But you got Daniel Atkinson coming in next season and pair that with Lockie Galvin. And all of a sudden, things start to click there for the Dragons. The other 5'8", half, wherever he wants to play, really, that's off contract is Tyron Wishart. Now, there's probably three clubs where I can see him going. The Newcastle Knights to partner Dylan Brown. I think that'd be a pretty good fit. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, because Cody Walker's off contract this year, 2025. He probably might re-sign for maybe another 1 year. And then there's sort of like who they really got, and a little studs there. But he hasn't been great so far. He's been in Australia, but he's obviously got lots of time for that. The other club, the Manly Ringer Seagulls, with Daly Cherry Evans leaving. Tom Trbojevic and Luke Brooks are going to be the halves apparently moving forward. That doesn't sound like it's going to work at all. So I feel like Tyron Wishart can come there and plug a few holes in that squad. Probably lock down a half spot there, either with the 6 or the 7 on his back. Talking about 7s, halfbacks. Again, the stocks aren't great. There's one name that really sticks out here, which I think he'll be re-signed by the end of the season anyway. First one is Jamal Fogarty. Obviously, there's rumours of him going to Manly at the moment. I kind of would like to see him re-sign and stay with the Raiders until his time is done. But obviously, they've got Ethan Sanders there coming through as well, who is like very, very good. Has got heaps of potential and will probably exceed Jamal Fogarty's playing level in a couple of years' time. So by 2027, he'll be ready to take that over. So yeah, Jamal Fogarty to Manly potentially could get an early release too, with the way that things are sort of seeing in the media at the moment. Then we got Jerome Hughes. This is a guy, he'll definitely get snapped up before November 1, surely. Now, I know the Storm do have Jonah Pezzett there, and they have re-signed him. So maybe there's something going on there in terms of just like, all right, Jerome's got 1 more year here, and then he decides he wants to leave. Like, because Jerome Hughes probably could get maybe, 800, 900 at the Storm, just with how good their squad is. At another club, he could get like 1.5 probably. He's so good. Teams that need a halfback, Manly again. Also, Kenry Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, no disrespect to Toby Sexton, who is like 24, and just getting better and better, like month by month. But Jerome Hughes is a win now kind of guy. If the Dogs want to win now and then keep Toby Sexton around for future success, I'm not sure. It's just like, yeah, I feel like the doggies, like, hit, like, there's so much chat about Toby Sexton and Connor Tracy getting replaced, but do they really need to be? But yeah, I don't know whether I can see Jerome Hughes leaving or not. Obviously, he's been to a few clubs now, but he's found his home in Melbourne, and seems like he fits in with the squad really, like, well there. So, will he leave? Will he work? Like, won't he? I think we'll see Jerome Hughes announced before November 1 as a re-signing for the Storm. The next one, Jamie Humphries. I think, again, he'll likely re-sign with the Rabbitohs. Gave him a bit of a lifeline there. Tell you what club could use him. Manly Ringer Seagulls. Then again, just throwing the hat in the ring there. Maybe he could sign for the Dragons, play 7, and then Atkinson could play 6. But also, I feel like Jamie Humphries, he's so talented, for one. But he could play nearly anywhere as a hooker. I reckon that's probably his best... Oh, whether it's best position or not, I don't know. But maybe it's like a Ben Hunt kind of thing, where it's like it probably could be like his best, like the way he can contribute to the team the best, if that makes sense. And okay, moving forward to the forwards, front rowers. The first one, the massive name here, Payne Haas. He's a guy who could sign wherever he wanted for however much he wanted. Something like, like he's potentially the best front rower ever. He just needs to start winning some championships. Now, a place that can do that, they've got a front row spot available, Penrith Panthers. I don't really want it to happen because I feel like it's just going to be too unfair. But imagine if it happened. That would be so sick to watch Payne Haas. Like, to watch Nathan Cleary play off the back of Payne Haas week in, week out. Like, oh, man. Like, it actually gets me excited to think about it. Like, I know it's one of those things that no one will see Penrith win anymore. But I kind of do if the Dragons aren't winning a comp, because it's like, we're seeing history. They're the best club ever. So Payne Haas, I feel like, could go there. But he'll re-sign with the Broncos, I'm sure. He's been there for forever. The only issue with the Broncos is you've got Adam Reynolds off contract this year, Tony Staggs, Selwyn Cobbett off contract this year. Their money is already sort of tighter because you've got Ben Hunt there now as well. So it's like you've also got to re-sign Corey Paix, who's been going really well. Where do you fit all these guys in? Obviously, Payne Haas is probably your priority. But I probably can't give you much of a contract upgrade, which I feel like he definitely deserves. So, who knows with Payne Haas? Let me know where you guys can see Payne Haas going, whether it's Penrith or somewhere else. But, I mean, again, like, he can represent New South Wales. He does represent New South Wales. So, maybe he goes back down there. Who knows? So, yeah, Payne Haas is a massive needle mover here in this free agency if he does become a free agent on November 1. Next guy, Braden Hamlin-Welle. Now, I'm pretty sure he's going to re-sign. Because I know that the Sharkies had to let go of Tom Hazelton, it seems, at the moment, just because of salary cap squeeze. But I can see him joining his good buddy Royce Hunt at the Tigers. Something about that just seems right. And maybe Hamlin-Welle goes to the Cowboys and goes where it all sort of started for him. Obviously, they've lost Reece Robson from hooker, so they got a bit of money there. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, a lot of these guys, like, I feel like these guys are off contract now, but just so many of them re-signed throughout the year. Again, this guy probably will do that as well. That is Liam Henry. I can see Liam Henry by 2027 being one of the better front rowers or middle forwards in the comp. His work rate is absolutely insane. I think he's really, really sound technically as well. Club that could use him, Manly Ringer Seagulls. I feel like he's just got that, like, his main attribute that Manly will look at is just his consistency. Every single week he plays really, really well. Manly's front row forward pack, they're quite good, mobile, big boys, but a lot of them just pretty up and down all the time. And like when they're trying to win a comp with the crop of players they got, you can't really afford for that. Like some forward packs just have it over him. I feel like Liam Henry just takes it to whoever, does not care, won't back down. We've seen that already in his young career. Another place that I'll personally love to see him, St. George Illawarra Dragons, of course. I think he'd be a great enforcer for the Dragons and will be able to lead that forward pack if he's ready for that challenge come 2027. Another guy, Junior Paulo. He's off contract in from November 1 if Jason Riles does not decide to re-sign him. We kind of love Junior Paulo to go back to the Raiders and finish his career there under Ricky Stewart with that big forward pack and just absolutely dominate with Joseph Tarpanay. But you let me know where you reckon Junior Paulo could be going. It is hard to see him playing for anyone else but the Eels, isn't it? So I feel like he'll probably retire there. Maybe that's what Junior Paulo does by 2027. Maybe like 2026 is like, yeah, I've had enough of this. I'm out. Now, for Penrith, another player that is off contract is Lindsay Smith. Obviously, already represented Australia. I personally didn't quite see it. Like, I just thought, like, oh, he's okay, but he's nothing exceptional. But this year, he's been really, really solid. And I think he's going to take leaps and bounds as he goes. And I think Newcastle Knights could be a good spot for Lindsay Smith. Obviously, they're losing Leo Thompson and probably got a little bit of coin, like a bit of cash for that. So, yeah, maybe Lindsay Smith to the Knights is just kind of like a thing. I was looking at Lindsay Smith and thinking, where can I sort of see him fitting in? I reckon Knights would be a good spot for him. Now, the hooker position heading into the 2020 like 6-7 slash whatever free agency is stacked. I'm just gonna read the names out first: Blake Brayley, Damien Cook, Talon De Silva, Harry Grant, Appy Coruscant, Jacob Little, Reed Marnie, Sam Verrills. It's a good list of names there. We'll start from the top. Blake Brayley, I think he'll re-sign with the Sharks. I can't see him playing anywhere else, and there's no one else really there putting pressure on him like to leave. Like obviously, Jaden Bradley left, but that's because his brother Blake was like ready to take over. Damien Cook, again, now he's at the Dragons. I can't really see him leaving and going anywhere else again. But I think by the end of 2026, is probably retirement time, like chat for Damien Cook. He's been on a little bit of regression the last couple of years. Talon De Silva is an interesting one. Like, huge talent for the Tigers, and then they need to lock him down by November 1. Same with Lockie Galvin. They need to sit them two in a room and just go, like, you guys are our future. How much money do you want? Sorted. And I can see Talon De Silva. I feel like he's a little bit more loyal to the Tigers than Lockie Galvin. But again, like, if Lockie Galvin leaves, it's one of his best mates. He might say, well, stuff this, I'm out too. Manly could do with a, like, proper, good quality full-time hooker and someone who has potential to grow as well. Lachlan Croker's doing a great job, but he's like, I think he's that tier down from those elite hookers. Parramatta, still looking out for a hooker. I know Riley Smith has been fantastic and a good revelation for Para, and will probably like just continue to develop into the future. But if you had Riley Smith and Talon De Silva rolling through the middle as a combo, it's pretty scary stuff. Another one, South Sydney. Peter Mamazallis has actually been a lot better than I thought he would be. But again, like I sort of said earlier in the video, if you can get someone better, you might as well. I think by 2026, 27, Talon De Silva is going to be an extraordinary talent. And like he's just going to just make waves and waves. Like he was playing first grade when he was 18. Didn't look fantastic because he was playing in the middle when he was 18. Like he played SG ball and NRL in the same year and then went back to SG ball. So he wasn't ready yet, basically. But he's starting to look really, really good, Talon De Silva. You can see where the raps are coming from. Now, Harry Grant, the best hooker in the comp. He'll re-sign. I expect Jerome Hughes and Harry Grant to re-sign, surely. But if not, again, Harry Grant can just go to every single club and say, I'm Harry Grant, here's a blank check, do your best. And he can just pick wherever he wants to go. Is won a comp in 2020? No, actually he didn't. He was playing for the Tigers. So maybe he wants to stick around in Melbourne and win a comp, because that's pretty much all he's got left to do, really. And then he's completed rugby league. So maybe if they win a comp by then, maybe he goes to rugby union. That could be a pretty good signing for the Wallabies. The next guy, Appy Coruscant. I feel like he's leaving the Tigers. I'd love him to stay at the Tigers and sort of just like see out like his end of his career there, and then hand over the baton to the young guys after they made the finals and say, just off you go. We've done our bit. Go win some stuff kind of thing. But I can see like he came from the Panthers where they were just winning non-stop. Going to the Tigers where they're just getting flogged every week. He goes, stuff this, get me out of here. So yeah, I feel like a club that, because he's got connections there as well. I feel like he'd be going off to the Bulldogs. I reckon that'd be a pretty good spot for Appy Coruscant out of land. Pretty exciting to watch him back with Viliama Kikau and those kinds of guys as well. Matt Burton, get some of the more Penrith crew back together. So yeah, I feel like he could have a swan song at the Bulldogs and try and win himself one last chip. Then we got Jacob Little. Hopefully he re-signs for the Dragons. I think he's been like a fantastic signing for the Dragons. And then, as I said before, with Damien Cook maybe retiring, I feel like at the end of that 2026, 27, then Jacob Little will just take over that role. Because not really any nines coming through at the Dragons of note at the moment. In saying that though, Jacob Little's role has been drastically reduced since Damien Cook has signed there. So maybe he gets the shits and just goes, I'm out of here, send me somewhere else. I feel like the Titans could be a really, really interesting spot for Jacob Little to land, because they've got a really good fullback and he's got a great running game, and he could just roll off the back of that. Like Tino, David Fafita, you also got like your Fodder Wakers just taking like really good like carries, and then just Little just rolling around the ruck, just absolutely carving teams up to the middle. I think that could be really exciting to watch. Next guy, Reed Marnie. I think he could be leaving the Doggies. Now, there's rumours and speculation that he was getting chopped around, which were quickly shut down by Phil Gould, but they just sort of like, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's whispers never really went away with Reed Marnie. Now, obviously, he's from Queensland, So I could kind of see him going up to the Dolphins. Obviously, Jerry Marshall King is there, and I believe by the time that these negotiations roll around, he'll be 30, sort of hitting his peak. But Reed Miney's a little bit younger. Another club who will be desperate for a 9 because their 9 is leaving to the Roosters next year. The Cowboys. I feel like the Cowboys could offer Reed Miney a significant contract and say, come play with Tommy Dearden, come play with Scott Drinkwater. Like, they do have like an attractive place to go and play, be a hero of the North Queensland community, and I feel like Reed Miney could actually play really good footy up there, and it could be a decent spot for him to land. Second rowers, there's some big names here as well. Angus Crichton, first one off the rank. I feel like he's likely to re-sign. I can't see him in the NRL playing for anyone else but the Roosters from here on out. But again, he's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and plays for the Wallabies in the upcoming World Cup in Australia. He could certainly earn a lot of money because he's very good at rugby union. Now, the next guy is David Fifita. Now, I know he's probably likely to re-sign for the Titans, and especially because that seems quite settled there. His girlfriend, Charlie Bent, plays for the NRLW team up there. But I feel like he's just comfortable up there. I feel he's not going out there and trying to become the best player he can anymore. Like, he's on a lot of money. He's like playing okay football. Like, I think he certainly could be playing a lot better football than he is. And like, he wants to play Origin again. Let's be real. And I don't think he's going to play Origin again at the Titans because of that comfortability factor. Like, to be completely honest, seeing him at the Sharks would be absolutely unreal. They couldn't afford him, I don't think, unless the some players leave before 2026 rolls around or before November 1 rolls around. But yeah, David Fifita to the Sharkies. I reckon that'd be pretty good edges of Fifita and Nicola there. That would be actually unreal. And again, it just takes him to that next level where it's like we're winning the comp. I'd also wouldn't mind seeing him at the Raiders. I don't know if he has the personality to play under Ricky Stewart. But I think Ricky Stewart would get the best out of him, and it would just like get him away from the noise and that sort of thing, and like just let him focus on his footy because there's not much else to do in Canberra, respectfully. So yeah, I would like sort of love him to see. I would love to see him there. And those two teams also have NRLW teams, I suppose. So did the Roosters when he had that backflip. But this club, he wouldn't have to move too far, or if at all, just up and down the highway. The Dolphins. Could see David Fifita at the Dolphins. I reckon that'd be pretty good, pretty exciting, and like be the Dolphins' first really marquee signing. They've still got plenty of money in their cap available for like a massive guy, and maybe David Fifita could be that. Yeah, obviously you got the Hammer there as well, who is dating Jamie Chapman now, who's very close to Charlie Bent. So maybe they could just be like, yeah, it works for us. You can work for you too. Who knows? Like, obviously there is a lot more to football and players' lives than we realize. You just go, oh, like surely re-sign with this club, whatever. But yeah, there is more to it. But interestingly for the Titans, both Fermor's also off contract now. I think he'll definitely re-sign for the Titans. He seems like a Gold Coast Titans player through and through. I can't really see him playing anywhere else, and like they stuck by him through his ACL and stuff. And I feel like Beau Fermor will repay that and re-sign it for the Titans. But again, he could be off somewhere else. Viliami Kikau is interesting. I reckon he could go wherever he pleases. But I do feel like he will re-sign for the Bulldogs and play with Serraldo and that sort of thing, and like try and win a comp there at the Doggies. And I reckon he'll be a Doggies player till he retires. And I think that's like just suits Viliami Kikau very, very well. But again, like any club out there who's got a bit of money could throw the book at Viliami Kikau. Kalao Matangi, another guy who I can't really see him leaving South Sydney. Like it certainly seems like, well, I mean, he's like a mascot junior, I believe. So he's been around the area his whole life. And like lives and breathes South Sydney. And to be honest, I feel like it'd actually be a bit of a shame if Kalao Matangi was to leave the Rabbitohs. Just because, like, I feel like he seems like one of those guys that just absolutely loves and adores the club that he plays for. And I think that's really good because you don't really see that often in rugby league anymore. Next guy, Ryan Madison. He's someone who's pretty much getting kicked out of the Eels, playing reserve grade at the moment. Jason Riles isn't, obviously doesn't rate him that much. I think this will, like, he'll get a release before his contract's up. I think, like, I can't imagine him wanting to sit around and play reserve grade for another season after this season. But I've got Manly down there. They've got Ola Kawatu on one edge and then Burbo on the other edge, who's been playing pretty good footy like this year. Like he's been a lot better, certainly showing signs of improvement. But Ryan Madison, like he has played Origin, so like very handy player. Could even play like a middle 13 role and push Jakey up into the front row. What do they want to do? But his brother Dean Madison is also there, so that could be a factor for Manly to say, hey, come over to us. Last but not least, our lock forward. Not a super stacked position in terms of players that are off contract. Starting with Cameron McInnes. I think he'll re-sign yearly contracts with the Sharks. I think he sort of stated that's what he wants to do before he retires. But if he wanted to go for a bit of a sea change, I reckon he would be a fantastic signing for the New Zealand Warriors. I think he'd be an absolute stalwart over there. Last couple of seasons, just go there and just help to like reaffirm the system and processes that Andrew Webster is trying to make over there. Just help nurture the young kids coming through, because the Warriors seeming like they're onto something special there in the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. And McInnes could definitely be a part of that. This is a place that selfishly I would love to see Cameron McInnes play. I would love to see McInnes play at the Storm. Just being in that like really, really good system, I think would be unreal. Like in his career, we've seen him play at the Rabbitohs when they sort of were on the downturn a little bit. At the Dragons, who we know have been pretty like average for a long time. He of course was really good there, and made the finals there in 2018. But like I just like, and then now he's at the Sharkies where like they're on the uptrend. But I just love to see him playing in a really consistent Storm system and just see how he goes. Jake Boyovich, he gets re-signed. He won't leave Manly, surely. And then last but not least, we're going to end this video talking about Kurt Mann, who I think should be re-signed by the Bulldogs. I think he's been really, really good for them in 2025 so far. But he's the kind of guy, he can play what? Like fullback, center, halves if you need him to, hooker, lock. He's a perfect 14. I think any club that's looking like, I feel like particularly, I know Kurt Mann wants to win a comp and wants to win and be great. But I think like he could be really, really good at a club that's got a lot of young players. And just be like, boys, this is how you play football. Like he's just a dead set tough footballer. Will just go anything and just tackle anything that's near him, and run at anyone who's in front of him. I think he's really tenacious and a great football player. So right, as you can see, there's lots of names that could be heading into free agency in November 1 at a lot of clubs with a bit of salary cap squeeze. So there could be a lot of shake up and a lot of movement around the league. But let me know, what do you think? Like, who do you reckon is going to sign? Like, where else? Like, do you reckon Payne Haas is leaving, or will he stay at the Broncos? Do you reckon someone like Jerome Hughes is going to leave the Storm? Or do you see all those guys sort of sticking around? Like, those big stars, do you reckon they're going to stay at their club? If you like the video, make sure you drop a subscribe, thumb up for more content coming through in 2025. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.